Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Hasara Nuwangi from Sri Lankan ECLIPSE team. So let me give you a small introduction as to what my study is and what I'm going to do. So for my study, I am exploring stigma associated with cutaneous leishmaniasis and mucocutaneous leishmaniasis in Anuradhapura district in Sri Lanka. So stigma associated with CL and MCL in Sri Lanka is under-researched. So, because there are several individual studies that explains about stigma, but there isn't a single study that have explored stigma in depth. So the objectives of my study is to systematically review stigma associated with CL and MCL, to develop a conceptual framework around stigma, and then to develop a tool to measure stigma associated with CL and MCL in Sri Lanka. The study flows as this. First, I have two components, the cyst review and the ethnographic study. And then based on the insights that I gather from these two components, I'll be developing the conceptual framework on stigma. And then, of course, then I will move on to development of a tool. So this study flow as this is very important because as of this moment, we have no idea as to how stigma is in the community, or whether these people are stigmatized even, or what are the stigma types that are available in the society about leishmaniasis. So the component one, systematic review. The objectives are to explore the types of stigma and to explore the means of measuring stigma and the implications, and then to find out whether there have been preventive strategies or interventions to address stigma associated with CL and MCL. So as of this moment, I have done with my protocol and I am trying to quickly start the systematic review and get my protocol published. So component two, which is my favorite component of the study. My study actually goes hand in hand with the ECLIPSE study methodology, but of course I have added a diary study component, which we will be explaining to you in a later day in our training session. But the objectives of the ethnographic study part is to identify and describe potential stigma and negative perceptions associated with leash in Sri Lanka, and to identify key stakeholders and gatekeepers of the communities. So, progress. I have so much to do, so little done. I'm done with my registration and concept paper submission. I'm now on my proposal submission and ethnographic fieldwork, but it seems like now I have to jump into the next step and start with the systematic review, as ethnographic fieldwork is on hold at the moment because of the current COVID situation in the country. So a little bit about my field site. In my field site, of course, there are around 1,300 of population, majority, of course, being female. And most of them are farmers or daily wage laborers in farmlands. There are paddy farmers as well as vegetable farmers. So if you ask them, for me, as a person who's coming from a semi-urban environment, I see this village as, wait, this is very rural. But if you ask them, my community members, they'll say, well, it's neither urban nor rural, because the field site is very near to the big city, Anuradhapura. They say, well, we are near to the city, but we are not as rural as Padavia, which is Asita's field site. So that's their perception on my field site, their village. So I have to tell you about this, my aha moment in my study. So when I was actually starting my ethnography, frankly, even before I started my ethnographic fieldwork, I talked to a lot of doctors and healthcare professionals and governmental officials, and Well, they said there's no stigma. So even the medical officer of health in my area said, Miss, I don't think there's any stigma attached with leash. These people don't care about this wound. They're farmers. So on the surface, it seemed like there's no stigma at all. So in my head, I was thinking, okay, so if there isn't stigma attached with CL, maybe I have to find out why, because clearly in other countries, this is a highly stigmatized um, disease. But then this particular moment happened. So this was a very fine morning. I was in my field side. I was talking to these very old two farmers, and one of them was a CL patient, and he was telling me his experience in the CL clinics. And he went, so miss, there was a patient in the clinic. He has gotten a boil on his nose. His nose has no shape. I initially thought he has placed a frog on his nose. I thought to myself, why on earth this man has placed a frog on his face? His whole face is distorted and disfigured. I hope he won't lose his nose. There's no point in living without a nose. So this particular last sentence, he actually said it to his friend. He turned to his friend and he said, well, there's no point in living without a nose. So this was the moment I went, aha, so there is actually something for me to explore. But this happened right before the ethnography got on hold. But I guess all the good things someday. So the next step, of course, I have the direct study, which is ongoing. We will talk more about this on Thursday. And I have planned my publications, my protocol paper, this is review, and 2 papers on stigma associated with CL and NCL. And the component 3 will be planned and executed after component 1 and 2 are done and I have gathered the informations. So I cannot stress how eagerly I'm waiting to go back to the field. I was gaining so much insight. I was so excited about this, but unfortunately we cannot deal with this situation in the country. So I am eagerly waiting to go back to the field and start learning. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I hope you enjoyed. And if you have any questions, please feel free to talk to me and email me. Thank you.